Well, moving along on the Saturn project here, here's my dual overhead cam engine I'm building for my 95 SW2. This is actually a block from a 97, and I put a rebuilt head on it. I got the head that's for the 95, so it's got the extra engine coolant temperature sensor port that year needs. Now, this engine came with the plastic valve cover, which a lot of people don't like. Evidently they warped and they had some issues with leaking and so forth and so on. So logically I decided to use the valve cover from my 95, which was aluminum. Now it was in pretty rough shape, so I prepped it and painted it. If you want to see the video about that process, go ahead and click here. The quick rundown is I used Rust-Oleum aircraft remover to strip the paint. That was about $8. I used this Rust-Oleum 500 degree engine primer and enamel paint. I got these on sale for about $2 a can, so altogether about a $12 paint job. I like the way it turned out. Hopefully it'll hold up. Time will tell. So let's talk about how we're going to seal this, because traditionally I've used these felpro preformed gaskets, and actually they've done okay for me. But when I researched this, I think I read that Saturn didn't actually use a gasket new from the factory, and that it was just sealed on with sealant or RTV basically, or their whatever they use. Now, when you think about it, it actually makes sense not to use a preformed gasket, because there's a lot of different interfaces of materials when you do that. You have the aluminum head, RTV, gasket, RTV, aluminum valve cover. Now, I suppose you could try installing this preformed gasket without any RTV, but I really doubt you'd get a good seal. I think I've read about one person who made it work, but I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyways, this time I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to use the Permatex Ultra Black RTV, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Little bit of prep work here. Make your life easy. Count all of your fasteners ahead of time. Make sure you have them all. Clean them up, get the grime and the grit and the oil off of them. You really don't have time to be screwing around looking for these when you're in the heat of the moment installing it. I've got my T30 Torx bit and a little breaker bar, and I've got my torque wrench. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, very important, prep work. You need to clean these surfaces so they're oil-free, contaminant-free. Absolutely critical. If you don't do a good job at this, there's really no point in even trying, because you're not going to get a seal. So I'm using acetone. I really should be wearing gloves, but I'm out of gloves and I need to get this going. So I made the choice to be stupid. That's a choice you'll have to make on your own. So I usually go around with acetone, get it nice and clean, and then I make another pass with more acetone. And once I think it's perfect, well, I make one more pass after that, just to be sure that we have a very clean surface. Now, just as important as cleaning the head is, of course, cleaning the surface of your valve cover. Again, I'm using acetone. Have to get it perfectly clean so everything will adhere the way that it should. Okay, now everything's clean. I'm going to go ahead and install the RTV. Now, what I've read that works well is to put a bead of RTV that's the same width as the groove and about twice as high as the groove. Now we're going to RTV in all the grooves as well as the perimeter. Okay, now that we've got our cake frosted, this is the important part. We need to let this sit for a little over 20 minutes to let this RTV skin. What that's going to do is it's going to create a tacky surface or skin on the outside of the RTV, but it will still be uncured on the inside. We do not want it to harden at all. And basically, the effect that it will give is kind of like an inner tube. When we put it on, that skin will expand and compress, and we should get a nice seal. So now, we walk away, give it about 20 minutes. Now might be a good time to make sure that you have your torque specifications and all your tools and all your fasteners ready to go. Okay, now that we've got our nice RTV skin bead on there, we'll go ahead and just set this down ever so gently, like so. Everything appears to be lined up real nice. Got my tray full of hardware here. And I'm going to go ahead and get started and just start placing my rubber grommets. Now we put a washer on top of each one. And lastly, I'll start threading my screws down in. Now I'm just snugging these down by hand, not really tightening. Okay, they're all snugged down. Now, here is our tightening pattern and our torque specification for this Saturn. 89 inch-pounds, which is not much. You need to be careful. The first time I did one of these, I snapped off one of the bolts. I was still able to get a good seal without one of the center bolts in there, but you know, you don't want to do that. So pay attention to the torque specification, use a torque wrench, and look up your tightening pattern. You can see we're going to go with the center ones first, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go back and forth like that. So let's get going. Here we go, everything's torqued down. You can see on the back side the aluminum valve cover does not use all 3 holes. You'll have one left over. That's for the plastic one. Everything looks pretty good. We've got our RTV seeping out the edge. So, looks good to me. Time will tell. Thanks for watching.